So, what's up? How are you?
I'm chilling. I'm doing quite well. Thank you. We have a few things. We both saw Meshuggah in the last few days, right?
Yeah. See, look.
You got the shirt. Good.
Yeah.
My friend Ben, unbeknownst to me, who took me. I mean, he did give me a ticket, which is awesome, but I didn't know it. But he had gotten the shirt like before I even got there. And then, like, when it was time to go, it was time to go because his girlfriend was coming from a different show, and I didn't have time to get the shirt.
What other show?
I don't know. Like, it was like a 5-word genre that involved, like, cottagecore and folk and soft and all these things. And I have no idea what she was listening to, but it certainly was not Meshuggah.
Well, maybe we should get her on the podcast because it sounds interesting.
Yeah. And yes, so my favorite part of the set was their little medley, their diddly from Catch 33, obviously. Maybe
diddly.
That's not obvious to everyone, but that was my favorite part.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've never seen them before.
No, they're a very good band live. They're extremely tight, like flawless.
Did you have it? Did you have any like did you have any thoughts about like having never seen them like and then now you saw them like did you come to any realizations?
I mean, well, for one thing, I've seen as many videos as I can find of them playing live. I've watched a ton of footage, but just seeing it and experiencing it and feeling it, it's just sort of mind blowing that, like, you know, everything that you hear on the records, they can basically just do, you know, and it's almost has a casual. I wouldn't say casual. They're of course very intense, but it feels effortless, and it's just like what they do, you know?
Yeah, it's true. They do seem and you saw In Flames, I'm assuming, as well?
I missed In Flames. I heard they were really good, though.
Oh, really? Did you?
Yeah.
You just made it for the headliner?
Yeah, because, I mean, I got the text, or it was actually an Instagram DM from my friend Ben, being like, hey, I have tickets. And I got that at like 5 p.m, and I was teaching, and I had to like do dinner and make sure that we were all taken care of at home, you know? And I was like, all right, dude, plans have changed, Crystal. But I made it there basically as soon as I could after getting done with teaching, you know? I had her take me to the BART. And then as I walked in and saw Ben, I heard like the final few minutes of In Flames, and it sounded like incredible, you know?
Yeah. It was exciting for me to see In Flames because I like them very much. And
yep.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. Pretty neat band as well.
Yeah. And I had a good view. I was like stage right. So I think I was near Frederick and like kind of blocked off from Thomas because of all the stage stuff that they have on there, you know?
Yeah, so I have a complaint about that. So Meshuggah, if you're listening, there's too much stuff on the stage the first half.
Mm-hmm.
I could not...
For the new record.
Yeah, I could not see... I also could not see Thomas Hawk because he was a good 6 feet behind the like things.
Yeah.
Whatever the was
he
like.
was
and so if you
obscured.
weren't like directly in front of them, you couldn't see him.
Yeah.
That was really an annoying stage placement. Although it was cool visuals, like the lighting is amazing. You know, it's like Thomas Hawk's like cousin or something that does the lights.
Mm-hmm.
So that like he's playing it live with them. So he knows all the rhythms and shit.
Wait, that's not triggered?
No.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's basically like another person in the band.
What? And then they also tour with like a dedicated sound person as well, right?
I'm sure. They have techs
okay,
of all kinds.
that's astonishing to me. So it's just like someone kind of like on a light MPC, like
yeah. I mean, maybe some elements of it are triggered. You know, I don't know all of the ins and outs of how those lights work, but there's I forget which album they were talking about. There was an interview after Kolos when they were saying like the way that they were doing their new stuff, like even he was having trouble figuring out the rhythms because they're trickier than they used to be.
On Kolos?
Yeah.
Interesting. Like longer. Oh, I mean, isn't Kolos after Catch 33?
It's after Obzen.
Before Catch 33, maybe?
Catch 33 is from 2000. So they did Nothing, then Catch 33, then Obzen, then Kolos, then Violent Superreason.
Right.
There was a huge space between they did Nothing, and then after Nothing, it was actually
which is dope.
And then Catch 33, and then Obzen. So it was almost like, what was that? Like 6 years before they did like a studio record.
Man, really. That has to be confusing as like a fan to have something like and then have Catch 33, which to me is in many ways it's opposite, follow it. And they're both fucking incredible. They're both ridiculously great records.
Yeah, they are.
They're completely different.
Something that stands out, I feel like,
for their catalog, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just because of the way that they made it.
Yeah. That was the one where Thomas Hawk was like improvising, and then they just had to deal, right? Essentially.
Yeah, I mean, there's some videos that came up of them recording it recently on the internet, but my understanding is that Thomas Hawk was just improvising these phrases. They kind of stitched them together, and then Frederick Thorndahl just learned them.
That sounds. I was listening to it the other day, and I was just imagining like taking that on, and it seems really difficult.
Yeah, you could see there's a clip on YouTube somewhere of him, like he's playing it back, and he gets like a certain, I forget what riff it is, but he gets like he's like reading on like a handwritten piece of paper, but it's not, the notation is like just like lines or something. He's like gets like halfway through it, and he's like, and he like writes something else and like does it again.
Totally. Yeah. Man. Like, what was their closer when you watched?
Every time I've ever seen Meshuggah play, they've always closed with Future Breed Machine.
Okay.
Was that true for you?
Yes.
Yeah, that's, I mean, I was surprised to see them not play Bleed at all in the set.
Yeah, I was too. And I mean, part of me, it was my first time seeing them, and I was like, yeah, I'm probably going to hear Bleed. But at the same time, like, I heard a lot of bangers, and I didn't necessarily miss it because we've all listened to that song many times, you know?
Yeah, it's crazy to hear it though live.
I bet, dude. I bet.
That song is though, like it is like a good 10 minutes long.
Bleed?
Yeah.
You know, the next day in theory, or the next 2 days later in theory, because I went on a Tuesday and then I had high school theory on Friday. And by that point, like I had this little cold. Luckily it's not COVID, but like I got a cold, you know what I mean? And I was like, guys, I'm not feeling like super up to lecturing right now, but I did see Meshuggah. Raise your hands if you know Meshuggah. No hands went up. So I was like, really? I gave them the talk down on what happens rhythmically and sort of the form and the structure. And then I just played Bleed really loud.
What's the talk down? We should give it to our listeners.
Well, essentially I was telling them to pay attention to Thomas Hake's feet, and I was like, when I saw them, it's not a double pedal. It was 2 separate sonar kick drums, and he said that he had to relearn his entire technique just to play this song, first of all. But that's not the talk down. That was just an interesting tidbit. The talk down is hard in, so this is the form, right? And jump in and correct me, but hard in on riff, and the riff is usually a pattern that's like a long hemiola that's over 4, usually. Sometimes they have a big 6.
I've never heard them use a 6.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that in a minute, because I feel like I like the first track on Kolos. I could feel that way, but maybe not. What? No, there's definitely some stuff in Kolos that's like 6-ish. Anyway, we'll talk about that in a moment.
I mean, do you mean triple subdivision as opposed to a duple subdivision?
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Not 6-4.
Yes.
I'm feeling more like 6-8-ish kind of vibe, but I think the way you said it, triple versus duple, makes a lot more sense. Okay, so we're back to the form here. And maybe there's the riff is introduced, drums, guitar, and bass. There's a short melody with the other guitar. Then Jens sings, and then another short melody. Right? There's the first verse, short melody, maybe a second verse, and then a breakdown or a riff change of some sort, followed by a guitar solo. How am I doing so far?
Well, you're describing a full. I would do this differently.
Okay. Well, let me try. I'm just trying to get like a really broad sense of how I see their songs going, and then I want to hear yours, because you've definitely, when you were first showing me Meshuggah, you gave me the talk. You sat me down. Okay, so we're at the guitar solo, and this is after maybe the pattern has changed to increase intensity. Okay. Last verse from Jens, and then maybe one more riff change and they take it out. That's like, so you could say like A, B, A prime, B, C, A, D, or something like that, But, all right, so that's sort of how I hear, in my mind, hear a lot of their songs working, especially thinking back to the Chaos Sphere or something like that, where it feels more like songs and not like more long form compositions in some ways, But what about you? What do you think?
I would describe Meshuggah like this. I would think of it in levels of complexity. Because they have been doing, they have however many albums. When did they first come out? It's like Contradictions Collapse was 1991. They were playing in the 80s before that. So, a good 30 years of doing this very singular exploration of what is not that complicated of an idea, but while being extremely creative and very heavy inside of that, pretty narrow formula. And so I would describe their formula in a series of like levels of complexity. So like at its basic level, it is what you said is a hemiola, which is a syncopation of like an odd metered guitar riff. So it would be a guitar riff that cycles in a series like a 7/16 over 4/4, just as a random example. And so usually a cymbal or a snare drum backbeat will be indicating the real frame of 4/4 that everything exists inside of.
Yeah.
And hold on a second. Yeah. So, and then so that 4/4 measure then will repeat in a multiple of 4. So it'll only be 4 measures, 8 measures, 16 measures, 32 measures. With some very rare exceptions to that, but it's always a multiple of 4. And once it gets
wait, so does that mean that they don't necessarily care about the cycle meeting its like the hemiola cycle like resolving itself at the top, you know?
It does not. So when it gets back, when it gets to the end of the 4/4 cycle, there will be necessarily a skip sounding. If you're following the other pattern, if you're following the syncopated pattern, it will sound like you're jumping back, because
that's interesting. So that way they can keep like pretty straightforward song structures.
Yeah, if you make charts of this, like all of the letters are going to be on the left hand side already, because it's going to be like 4 bars, 8 bars, it's all very but okay, so that's level 1 of this. So once they got into I would say that idea, this concept, solidified by Chaosphere. So like Chaosphere, I think, and Destroy, Erase, Improve to some extent, has like the simplest examples of what Meshuggah is doing. So I think attached to layer 1 of the complexity, you have like the rhythms of the lead vocals are accentuating, going back and forth between the frame of the 4/4 and the syncopated rhythm. So
that's always really fascinated me. Do you know anything like, does Jens write those rhythms intuitively, or do you know how that happens?
I'm pretty sure Thomas Hawk writes almost all of that stuff.
Okay.
And Jens just learns it, or maybe just adapts it.
Both are impressive, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Either way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, if you listen strictly to the rhythms of his vocals, they're it's like a weaving in and out of, it's like the rhythms that are being the accents of the syncopated rhythm, or the accents of the 4/4 beat. So, there's that. Also, whenever there's like a guitar melody, it's usually strictly emphasizing the 4/4 frame. Like there'll be like a toddle between 2 notes, and it'll be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, or something like this.
Absolutely.
So,
and that's a very common melody for them. It's just like
just 2 notes,
like 2 steps.
Yeah. So okay, once you get, so I would say level 2 definitely appears on Nothing, like very clearly, which is when they start using 8 strings. And so this idea of like, you have this frame, and like you can think about this a couple of ways. I like to think about it, I think they may be doing a couple of different approaches here. So it's like, you imagine this frame, like if you have a rhythm that is syncopated and it goes until it gets to the multiple of 4 end. So let's say it's 16 bars, and then it gets chopped off, that little skip in the rhythm. Now imagine you just have that in a DAW and you just move the whole thing over, but then loop that. So now you have 2 skips in the rhythm. And maybe they're at different places, but maybe they're at similar places. So like, they start doing things like that. Or another way is that doing like an insert of an idea inside of that, so just maybe at random, where
pulling
you'll
straws.
have a steady repeated phrase, and then all of a sudden there's like a flower blossoming out of it, like a new little thing, and then it'll go back and continue. And obviously just that, if you think about those two things, they can really make their rhythms much harder to identify, like the bass rhythm, and much harder to follow if you're just trying to follow it. But they also can use this as a way, like, because maybe if you're just repeating it straight without any variation in it, it's not as funky as if you're adding these little variations that break up the repetition.
Yeah.
So I think they do that in to some extent in order to like make it very funky, because a lot of the way the riffs work, they're just really funky. Like if you can really feel the backbeats.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a reason why they're so compelling. I mean, you know, and I think a lot of it is like this really deep, heavy funk, and just they really tapped into something. So nothing, pulling straws at random was one of my other favorite moments in the set when they played that. I'm
really glad they played that one.
That's a beautiful song, and that's from nothing, right?
Yeah.
That song kind of stands out to me.
They also played Rational Gaze.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Very cool song.
Pulling Straws at Random, though, feels different to me. It feels almost more towards the prog rock end of the spectrum. You know what I mean? There's like, it's like more melodically lush than a lot of their stuff, you know, and harmonically lush. Let me come back
to that, because I have some thoughts. Put a pit in that idea. There's a
Boop. Got it.
I have a thought about that. So okay, so that's getting back to my chart of the layers of complexity.
Yes.
Going to level 3 on Catch 33, where you can have now, like, they've been doing this thing where you have like a riff that is like, it's like a set of pitches and a rhythm. And then on Catch 33, they're now syncopating the pitches. So maybe you have like
yes
4 pitches and you're a 7-note rhythm,
and you're cycling both.
Yeah,
right?
And so like the way, because those 4 pitches get cycled across the 7, they have some like really crazy cycle across the straight up 4/4 frame beneath it. So it's really like, and also creating like variations where it's like on that album, like where if you have this idea of the shifting frame, like putting those different frames of reference back to back with one another.
Yeah.
Like in the first part of Catch 33, where it's like you hear these like very, very similar riffs like right up against one another, but they'll like start in different places, or they'll have a different number of notes that they're cycling through.
Yeah, you know, that's like the first CD you gave me, and I swore you just like burned it wrong, because it just starts the way it does. So I kept like skipping around looking for the beginning, and I was like, I think this album's broken, dude. But then I've since listened to it so many times, and like, you know, you have to really, that's one of those pieces that or like works, I would say, that you just have to exist in that world, you know?
Yeah.
It's incredible. Since become my fave, but.
Yeah, so on Obzin after that, they didn't really, I mean, there's some really cool songs on that, but I feel like that album was more of a technical journey. Like they started playing the 8 strings in different ways, like the technique that they were playing, and obviously they have bleed, which is like,
yeah,
you know, crazy.
Yeah.
But then on Koloss and Violent Sleep of Reason, they start doing something else, which I think is, I would consider to be like level 4, which is then like taking a riff with a set of pitches and then giving that a transposition journey, basically. So like the pitches are then being transposed by some process.
Okay, so I'm much more familiar with Koloss than I am of Violent Sleep of Reason. Can you maybe throw out a tune or two as a...
Well, I think the clearest example of this is actually on Violent Sleep of Reason in Ivory Tower. Okay. Where they have the like it's a riff like halfway in. Here, I'll just play it.
Okay.
If I can find it. I mean, shit, they got so many records. Here. Ivory Tower. Can you hear this even? So that's the clearest example of that. But also on like the song Koloss, what's that? It's like I Am Colossus. What is that song called?
That's the first track, right?
I Am Colossus. Yeah, that song. Do Not Look Down also has this.
That's a fresh song.
Yeah.
Is that the... there's your 2-note melody again.
Yeah. So like they'll have a riff and a rhythm and a set of pitches, but then the pitches are going to get transposed by some process also.
So how do you feel about the Violent Sleep of Reason? I don't know it.
Oh, it's my favorite one. I was really bummed that did they play? I think they might have played one track from there.
That's your favorite?
Well, Chaos Fear is my favorite, but this is an easy second favorite. Mostly because of that song Ivory Tower, to be honest with you. But also Nostrum. You got the song Nostrum is probably that's their craziest song, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, I have some homework. That's good. I'll check it out.
Really shoddy drumming on this.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
All right, so I do want to get back to what you were going to say about Straws Pulled at Random, and also I do want to Do you even want to talk about their latest record, or are you?
Yeah, I have some thoughts about it, and that's related to Straws Pulled at Random. So I don't know if you notice, but so on Straws Pulled at Random, it's Martin that plays like the solo bit.
Oh,
did you notice that?
Oh, okay, interesting. So this doesn't have to do with like Soul Niger within like the time lapse or overlap like aesthetically or anything. You don't think?
Well, okay, so here's the thing. Like we have Soul Niger Within is Frederick Thorndahl's solo album. Yes. So we know what he'll get up to if left to his own devices. We don't have that for Martin, but now we have Immutable, which is a record that they made without Frederick Thorndahl. So it's, the band without Frederick Thorndahl. So like that's more or less what Martin's going to get up to. So cuz Dick Logren, that guy, he's not really a writer in the band.
Is he
their bass player?
Bass player. Okay.
Yeah. And we know that Thomas writes stuff, but he obviously doesn't play guitar, so.
But he writes like most of the lyrical content, right?
He writes I think he writes all the lyrics and stuff.
Okay.
But so one of the things about Immutable, I'm a little bit, I like it. There's things about it that I like, and there are things about it that I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it lacks. Frederick Thorndahl has a fire within him that is that like really pushes Meshuggah to the like really crazy stuff like stuff like I or like like things like that I think are very much Frederick Thorndahl contributions to the band.
And I gotta say, seeing them live, like being that close to Frederick, I was probably like 30 feet from him. I that's who I felt genuinely most starstruck by, Yeah. Because, I mean, Thomas is incredible, but seeing Frederick that close, I was like, holy shit, dude.
Yeah. And so like on Immutable, amazing. Like 3 or 4 of the songs on this are instrumentals. I think that that Martin is more like into this like maybe like natural minor sound, which is what we get for like in Straws at the end of Straws Pulled at Random.
Yeah.
And Frederick Thorndahl is into this altered diminished scale sound.
Yeah.
So, and that's, I think, the magic of having both of them contribute is why Meshuggah is so cool.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
but like my complaints about my main complaint about Immutable is that it doesn't really push the envelope very far for them, and which is like, I mean, they've just set the bar for themselves so high in my mind, like from my perspective, because every album is doing something completely groundbreaking for the genre as like, and I feel like this is the first album that they've ever put out that's like just another Meshuggah album, which is, I mean, it's still there. It's like it's an amazing album. I am being overly picky, but
well, you got it, man. Well, that's interesting. I need to spend more time with Violent Sleep, a reason, obviously. I don't know. There was something about like the way they rolled it out where I just didn't feel engaged and I didn't really check it out. I think like watching like those clips of those videos, I was like, well, this is like a Strange Process film, and I just didn't really feel like checking it out. So I'm gonna get in there and just listen to the music,
Yeah.
But yeah,
there
man,
is one. There is, that being said, they do something for the first time on Immutable that they don't do anywhere else, which is have I forget which. There's a few songs where they have triplets introduced and it's in a single riff with 16th notes.
Oh, they don't do that before?
No.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah. Just within a single riff, though, which is a new one.
I mean, I love that sound.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, sweet, man.
I also really like the song Black Cathedral as well, which is, it's kind of like it's like an Okra track on the Meshuggah album.
Yes, you want that collab.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, I listened to a few of those tracks. And I liked what I heard, personally, you know? I was like, man, this shit hits hard. This is good.
You're talking about Immutable?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's a great album. It's like by any, like if Immutable dropped into the world and we've never heard Meshuggah before, I'd be like, this is the best album I've ever heard. I just like, it's just like the history of Meshuggah leading up to this is like, I'm just like, my bones want my brain to explode.
Got you.
More harder.
Sweet, man.
I really like the song God He Sees in Mirrors on this album in particular. Probably my favorite track.
So are you going to continue to see Meshuggah throughout your life?
I mean, if I can. I think I saw them for every tour except like from the Nothing tour, and I missed the Violent Sleep of Reason tour. I think they toured a few times after they released Nothing, because there was a tour they did. I think they did one after Catch 33, and they were not yet playing that medley.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I missed that one. So,
man, yeah, again, I'm so glad they played that live. Like I got so, dude, I had straight up for like the next few days, I had kind of like bangover, I guess they call it. Like old man head banging. Like I was just like stiff as.
Man, I saw them last night. My neck is sore.
Yeah. Yep. Well, dude. Yeah. So there's a few other things that we should talk about in terms of releases in the world. I started listening to. Are you down with that?
Yeah. Should we talk about your brittle bone structure?
Yeah, we can do that. Have you ever seen a monkey puzzle tree?
What?
Look up a monkey puzzle tree.
Monkey puzzle tree?
Yeah.
Oh, for sale?
No, just look up what it looks like.
Oh yeah, okay. It's a
so we
big ass tree.
One of those. They can be really, really big, but we
got a
little,
reasonably sized one.
Yeah, we got like a baby one.
Okay.
And I was moving it in my flip-flops outside.
This is like a conifer, right?
Yeah, but it's like weird.
Yeah.
Weird. I don't know how it evolved that way. I've been meaning to look that up, but while I was moving it, like the flip-flops caught and I went down on my wrist on a flagstone and it broke straight across. And it was one of those things where I've sprained my hands many a time.
Which hand was it?
Left, luckily, which is not my dominant. I'm very lucky in that, but yeah, it's like one of those things you just knew right away. You know, it really is like, all right, we're going to the ER, and probably I'm gonna have to cancel a lot of gigs, which I did. So yesterday was SF Music Day put on by Inner Music SF, and I would have been playing at that with John Schott, Willie Wynant, and Jordan. Yeah. I would have released the CD, the record.
Right.
Didn't do that. And then there's like a smattering of other cool gigs that I had to like say no to. You know, Rafi Garabedian, Octet, Rent Ramis, Lost Shapes, my trio with Shell and Safa. You know, I had like a really cool couple of months of gigs lined up. They're all just out the window, but you know,
damn,
it's all good because I'm just gonna heal up and I'll be okay. I just got to do like the physical therapy and not play the vibes like I have been for the past few years. Just like kind of take it easy for a little bit, you know.
You should start back with just 2 mallets for a long time.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that would limit the rotation, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could use more elbow while you're healing up.
Honestly, lately, I've been soloing more with 2 mallets anyway, just because teaching at OSA and like working with all the high schoolers who are just like super jazzed about jazz. You know, I'm just learning more about like the language and playing standards more, and I feel like to speak clearly that way, I'm soloing more like Bobby Hutcherson, just like 2 mallets, or Steve Nelson, you know, instead of like trying to create soundscapes with 4 mallets and be more like a textural exploration, you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It works, you know? But that's actually a really good call. And I could still always do 2 mallets with my right hand and 1 with my left.
Or 3 with your right hand.
I've actually, there's a doctoral paper on Emmanuel Séjourné's 3 mallet per hand technique that I've been meaning to look up. Like if you listen to his recording that he does with Robert Van Cise of Takamitsu's Rain Tree, he plays the vibraphone part, and he's absolutely flawless. It's incredible. You should check that out.
I mean, I did, obviously you have to do it for Rain Tree. I remember like once I kind of figured it out, I was like, oh, this is doable. Like if I spent a lot of time doing this,
right,
figure it out for real. But
I think Séjourné spent a lot of time doing it, and
it's
like
one of
has
those things.
Like independence with 3 mallet. I don't get it, but you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, the cast is coming off on the 21st, and you know, I'll be gigging again in November.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but you did release your album.
I released my record.
Yeah.
And it's I'm very happy with it. I'm getting the clean. There's been some silver linings actually. Not gonna lie, to like having to push it back because I got the CDs in and there was a slight design flaw, and it's like, man, if I had like tried to sell those, I would have been kind of bummed out, you know. So I corrected that, and now I'm getting like the corrected run of CDs.
Oh, did they actually like reprint them?
Yeah, they're on their way right now. Actually.
Whoa, that had to have been a serious flaw.
Okay. Well,
I mean, it sounds like
okay. So here's what I'll say. First of all, I'm mainly printing CDs to send them out, like to radio stations and for people who are still CD listeners, which is like fewer and fewer, it seems. But they're really great to have because they sound great. They're small and they can hold a ton of music on them. You know,
CDs sound better than, like if you have a CD player, it's better than playing something off of Bluetooth or like.
Oh,
I noticed that with.
Well, hang on, because there's a lot to break into there. But I just want to say this: I'm gonna mostly be sending out the ones with the design flaw out to like college radio stations all over the place just to get it heard, you know.
Yeah.
But instead of on the inside cover, here's the main thing. On the inside cover of, instead of it saying 1,000 thanks, it got pushed over enough to now it says 1,000 Hanks. And then it like goes through my things. And I was like, dude, I can't sell this. You know what I mean? I can't put this up as merch. Like 1,000 Hanks is like too silly. And like, I wasn't with it, you know. And then like, there was another couple of things, but I can send those out for free for promo, and that's all good. And now I'll have like a full run, not a full run. And by the way, I only got like 100 per run. You know, it wasn't too crazy, but like at the same time, it was pretty frustrating. Not gonna lie, you know. So, but So it's good that I can send these out to college radio stations, as I've been recommended by many of my friends as promo and to get it heard. But so going back to what we were saying, it's like I did get a 6 CD changer, and I've been listening to CDs, and as long as they're not scratched, that's the frustrating thing. They sound incredible.
Yeah.
It's so clean, and I love records, but there are many arguments for and against these days, so it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, there's arguments against CDs too. Everything's got its flaws and its advantages.
Yep. My goal is still to have it on both. I'm still plan to do a run of records down the line after when I can afford
after
to do so.
Hits the Billboard charts.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
People love the track that you did the primary composition on, by the way. I get a lot of feedback on that. The one with
really?
Will. Yes. I get tons of feedback on that.
It does slightly stick out of the texture of the album.
Oh, yeah. Big time. But it's like, I worked really hard on the track order after I had the full Bob contribution. And I was like, we're going to make this work. And I think where it falls in the record works really well. Yeah. I'm super stoked on it.
We will make it work. Spencer Owen. We should get Spencer Owen on the pod.
Let's get him.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. I'm glad to be really highly involved with the album.
Mm-hmm.
It's a cool thing. And it feels like, when did we do this recording session? It feels like it was 10 years ago.
It's probably more like 4.
Yeah. It was everything pre-COVID feels like it was 10 years ago.
Yeah. And then, you compound that with my propensity to drag my feet on doing all the admin that it takes to get something released and organizing the band and all that. So it was crazy that I was super proactive with getting this band together, and I had the venue and did all this promo. I was like, wow, I'm actually doing this like an adult. And then I just smashed my wrist into pieces, moving a silly tree, but it's okay. I can still take the lessons that I learned, being proactive, and move forward with that. 'Cause that felt really good. Usually I have a inherent fear or anxiety about promoting anything of mine at all. So
yeah, it's hard.
It's hard.
It's hard.
Yeah.
They were just you're reminding me that I need to print these flyers
for the 26th.
Yeah, and I'm trying to do a class here. I'm trying to do a percussion class.
Oh, cool! At your house?
No, there's a music lessons place. It's called Bakersfield Music Lessons.
Big up.
Yeah, I'm gonna teach a class there on Saturday mornings. That's the plan.
Dope, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah. Sign ups at robert.woodsledew.com.
Yeah, man. That's cool. What kind of percussion?
It's gonna be Afro-Cuban percussion. Let's be real.
That checks out. Dude, yesterday at SF Music Day, I saw Josh Jones play percussion with oh man, I'm not gonna do that right now. Sorry, I'm tripping. I can't remember the name, even though it's someone I know well. Anyway, as a percussionist, he's fantastic. Really sensitive and creative, and it was really a pleasure to listen to him do his thing. I don't think I get to hear him just play percussion that much.
I've heard that he's great. I've never met him, never seen him play.
You still think he might be a phantom?
Yeah.
We have 3 unanswered email chains with him from our podcast. It's just
really
into the void they go.
Yeah.
But okay, sorry. That was a bit of an aside. Excited about the 26th.
Yeah. I'm excited. Are you going to come down and play?
Well, I can't play. I'll be out of a cast for a few days, but I'm fitting to come down. stare at Max.
That's probably an unrealistic journey for you.
What, on a Wednesday?
We should do a journey for you when you can come down and play.
Yeah, but it's a birthday, man.
I mean, kind of.
But your birthday's like on Saturday or something?
Yeah, it's on Friday.
Sorry.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is that I can't host you because Max will be here and my parents will be here.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
Let's wait till I can play.
Yeah.
I was going to talk to you about that. May as well do it on the podcast, though.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well,
yeah,
cool.
we should do more. We should probably do more podcasts like this, I think.
I think so, too. I mean, just a duo, right?
Yeah, and hopefully, hopefully we won't get thrown into jail for playing excerpts from Meshuggah. But you know what I've come to realize is that everybody does this. And the worst thing that can happen is that you get demonetized on YouTube, but we're not even monetized on YouTube. So take that.
So come at me.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's also, I mean, I mentioned this dope who, well, anyway, I don't want to throw that out there yet. So I did listen to, I want to talk about your record, and then I quickly also, at some point, I don't know what order you'd like to do this in, but I did listen to The Miracle Cat from June, which we have
We should get Devin
yet.
on for that. We should do a separate for that. Because okay. I also, I haven't.
You're on it, man.
I'm on it. I played on it. Actually, I played on more songs than I'm credited for, actually.
Oh, we definitely should get him on.
Yeah.
Should do some gotcha journalism, right? Is it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I did have some, I was sitting in the back seat, listening to, Devin talk about some of this in our G chat. But yeah, that's another. So we should maybe start writing these down. Spencer, Owen, Devin. Who else?
Yes. Well, we have some people on deck. One email that I just sent out, and then I have a few more. That'll
should
be going
probably
out,
try to contact Jute Geit again.
Yes, yeah. Adam, right?
Yeah. Whew, man, I like that guy's music so much.
Yeah, we should have him on. Oh man. Well, yeah, let's talk about your record.
Yeah, it's we need to get the Alex episode out because it was this record is from Sad Fam, which is his creation, his challenge. Yeah. Write one song a day for a month.
So for this record, do you think I have to ask, do you think you went for it the way you did because you knew you were going to be talking to him? Or were you just like were you in a tizzy? Were you in a mood?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I have so many ideas for how to approach a Sad Fan month. Like, I'm thinking about January. I'm like, I could do like a metal song every day. I could just try to write songs on my 4-track. I could make like I could do a hip hop song. Like, there's so many ways to think about the month, and like, no matter what you do, you can kind of like, that like by the end of the month, it will be this like incredible journey. And once you get there, it's like, you've basically acquired some composition skills.
Yeah. Well, my, cause I've mentioned that I'll be pretty, I think, and I don't know how busy I will be, but, I'm planning on doing it in January, and I'm trying to think about, my limitations, because last time I tried it, I just sort of did everything everywhere
Yeah.
Different rooms, different interfaces, different miking setups, different idea every day. And I think in order for me to succeed this time around in January, I want to have one concise setup where I explore that setup every day, and I put on a timer for an hour and a half, and
Ooh.
that's that.
That's tricky. Maybe
maybe 2.5 hours.
I would encourage you to, I mean, I was overly ambitious on the finishing the ideas for this album in particular, or this set of songs, because I knew right off the bat, I was I had a list of 3 or 4 of these songs before the month started. So I was one day I want to try this. One day I want to try this, and also I want these to be something that I would listen to later. So I want them to turn out.
I mean, the production is amazing. By the way, just for listeners, the record we're talking about is called The Odd by DDB, and you can find it at dennydennybreakfast.bandcamp.com/album/The Odd. And then the record we were talking about of mine, which I don't think we said the title of, is called You Would Do Well by the Dirty Snacks Ensemble, and you can find it on Bandcamp.
The Dirty Snacks Ensemble.bandcamp.com.
Yeah. Okay. So now that we have that tiny bit of business out of the way, this is a remarkable record in its scope and the sound, and it's
well, thank you.
Overwhelmingly, it's so impressive, man. It's incredible, honestly. You've done so much really cool shit, and each song I have I need to write down more questions about it, because each one brings up a new thing, and I was like, okay, so how did you pull this off in a day? I don't know. And then there's some productions one, but which one is the one where is it a dream or Into the Depths, where the time signature reveals itself in different ways throughout the course of the song?
A dream is it's a 5/4.
Yes. Yeah.
But in a 5 bar phrase, so that as opposed to Meshuggah, where it would be a multiple of 4, the 5 resolves after 5 beats. So it's the 5. You're playing the 5 4 times, and you're playing the 4 5 times.
And so if you have one day to do this, is this, because I often tell some of my students that when I'm walking around, I'll have rhythms kicking around in my head, and if I'm smart, I try to write them down while they're there, if I find them to be fascinating. Was this a rhythm that you had kicking around, or did you write it the day of?
So this was one. So, okay. When I started the month, I had this plan, because I knew that I wanted to spend more time on finishing a song on the day rather than coming up with ideas.
Okay.
So, I forget which day it was. It was
probably...
It was one of the days before that. So 1, 2, or 3, I sat down on the piano and wrote 3 ideas. So that song,
the dream is one repeated chord progression. Is
exactly.
That right?
So on the piano, I'm just playing one. The piano part doesn't change. I'm just playing this one chord progression the whole time, and then the way the other instruments develop it, particularly the drum set comes the drum part is actually easier than it sounds, I think, to play.
Well, I think it's because the way that the parts come in when the drum set part is fully unveiled, I guess.
Yeah.
It lends an entire different lens to the feel of the song. So it sounds really tricky because you've been feeling it a different way. The piano is not quarter notes. Am I right with that?
Yeah, so the piano part, which starts right off the bat and goes to the end of the song, is just it's just the 5/16 note. So it's
1 2
1 2 3 4 down down So the real trick of the song, and this is like a thing that is cool about 5/16, like if you're feeling 5/16, if you feel it a quick 5/16 and you've divided it 3/2, it's almost like the Jay Dillis swing feel, like the hip hop drum set beat.
Whoa.
So that and so like that's how I started the song, is like trying to do that. And then like, but I'm listening to a click track, so I'm like like just doing a fill, but it's just 16th notes. You're kind of like, wait, where? Because it sounds weird if you're feeling just the fives, which is how I set it up. And then I took a bass solo over that, which was like just playing 16th notes relative to the 5.
Yeah.
Which is like, it was easy to do because it was easy to play, but then like to notate that would be very complicated.
No, absolutely. It would almost be worth it to write 2 different scores depending on who's playing what part, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's an improvised solo, so it's just like, I was just going for it, but, but to address your other question, so it's like, I came up with these 3 ideas, and then on day 4, it was just like, I kind of knew, like I had the idea of how to, like, as I was this is the benefit also of coming up with like a seed before you try to finish a song. So it's like, you have the basic structure, or whatever the idea is, right? So in this case, it was just a chord progression and a rhythm. And so I was like, oh, I could do like this part, and then I'll just like get a vocal line going over it. And like, I knew how I was going to do it, and it didn't take me that long. Because it's like, it's actually not that hard to play once you are doing it. Yeah. And even though it sounds really complicated, it didn't actually, some of these actually took a lot longer than that one. So like, because even that one is just like, there's like bass, piano, drums, vocals, and then just a bunch of soft synths that I sequenced. Right?
Yeah.
But some of these like I have all these like crazy, like there's like one like with like a Roomba beat with like reggae sounding guitar thing, which was like that one was really, really difficult to play. And there was like a crap ton of parts. Or like some of these were like the vocals, like I have a bunch of vocals. Vocals take a long time. There's a lot of harmonies, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, luckily, you have a ton of experience producing vocals, and they end up sounding really good.
Yeah,
but it just seems like
vocals always take the most time. So if like, I'm always setting myself up for failure. If I'm like, oh, I'm going to do a big harmony, like that's like, oh, you're going to do 2 hours of work on this, right? Like, where versus like just like a synth pad, or like something I could just do in 2 seconds, and it's like, But so the other thing that was kind of funny, like I started with this elaborate idea of like, oh, I'll set myself up for success by coming up with these seed ideas in advance, and then I'll be thinking about them, when I'm at the grocery store or whatever. And then once I sit down to work on them, I'll know what I need to do to finish it. And it'll take less time that way. However, like by half the month, I was like, I got behind because like I went on a trip, and then I like had to like finish songs in advance of days that I couldn't work.
So you had them queued up to release?
Yeah, because I still wanted to I wanted to participate on the site in a daily manner, even if I wasn't working that way. And
interesting.
And so I did there was a day where I did a couple songs, and then another day where I did a couple songs. So I had a bank of songs to post. So when I went on this trip, I could just post those songs and then on the trip I did like some re-noise stuff,
Yeah.
Because I didn't like record anything. So by the time
you like sequence some stuff out for you to use later on.
yeah, so like by the time I got back, I had a couple of like renoise things I could work with to like make songs. But like those are actually my least favorite on this album, or those ones.
Interesting.
But by the end I was just like I had like I did get like I started to get worn down a bit, and I like was just doing like coming up with ideas on the day and finishing them on the day, which got really crazy. But actually, some of the ones towards the end of the album, this is in order of finishing them for sure. Like, track 1 was the first track I finished, and track 30 was the last one.
And so there's like 31 days in January, right?
Yeah, I did the last day. I kind of tapped out. I posted on the site like a silly thing. I was considering putting it on the album, and I was like, man, the album's so cohesive with the narrative and everything.
Yeah.
Because my challenge
the album's so good, dude. Like it's amazing. You don't want to just like tag on a silly thing at the end.
Yeah. The challenge to myself was like to continue, like to create a narrative of the lyrics. So there's actually like if you can manage to decipher what I'm actually saying, there's a story that goes from track 1 and goes on if you're just reading it. It's kind of a dumb story, but I did do it, which was like the challenge.
Yeah. Were you, I mean, because you talked to Alex about using some lyric generator.
Yeah, I mean, that's like more like to get. So it's okay. Like when you're writing a phrase, oftentimes I'm like, I'll write something and I'll use very common words, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to use these I probably use the thesaurus more. Where I just like am like looking, okay, like what's another way that I could like say this idea? And then like using the AI generating stuff, it'll just spit out like related ideas. And so it just gets me thinking about different directions I could take it.
Yeah.
And so like I'll have like a text file open and I'll like fill it up. Like it'll be like pages and pages long, and I'll just like be reading it and be like, okay, like this is a cool bit that like the AI text came up with. And I'll be like, okay, I can work it this way into this. It's just a way for me to like, to kind of like, just be like, because the thing is, when I think of stuff all on my own, I feel like it's so colored by me.
Yeah, of course.
And when I'm looking at like it excites me to grab something that I be like, find a word that's in a thesaurus that's like a related word and be like, oh, I wouldn't have thought of it to say this other word, you know, but like it's more exciting to me this way. And it's like, that's what I prefer anyways. Like I want it to be exciting to me, you know, ultimately. And I'm not concerned about that being, I don't know, inauthentic or whatever. It's like, I want the result to be good, you know?
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, because it's still, I really like this idea of generating lyrics, and I think I'm going to try to use it in January. When you
gotta be careful though, because sometimes it actually ends up taking more time. So like,
oh really?
Yeah, like I've clocked. I mean, especially on this month, like I've clocked it. Like I've been like, okay, I like, because you'll be thinking about the song and you like think about, okay, I need to put like the 2 verses and like there should be like a melody here or whatever, right? Yeah. And you're like, and like in my case, I'm be like, okay, what's going on in this story? You know, what are these idiots doing? And sometimes it was just like I kind of knew where I wanted to go and just be like, okay, just like get it together, like just make it up yourself. And
I see what you mean. Yeah.
Like
where the AI
spending
just,
time
like,
diving through crap that an AI spits out, you could be wasting time.
Well, what about this? Like, if you're talking about pre-generated material, what if you have, is it against the ethos of the month to like have some lyrics already generated, some song lyrics, and then you make the songs? No, I would say no, because Alex himself uses poetry.
Yeah, I would definitely say there's really nothing against the ethos of the month, I would say.
There's rules. Yeah, that's true.
Song challenges have to have rules. You know, I did that for the all-nighter challenge
yeah.
So like I forget, I think it was like the first or second one. Like I knew that I wanted to have lyrics, but I also knew that I like lyrics and vocal stuff that always takes the most time for me.
Yeah.
And just the 24-hour challenge where you're just doing it for 24 hours. It's like I came in with like 6 or 7 song lyrics written already.
Cool.
Which honestly, it really helped keep it cohesive. And ultimately, like, because when I'm coming up with the songs, you have to change it anyway, because it doesn't, like, whatever you write in advance has to be kind of modified, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like they dance around with each other, right? Like, you know, if you have the lyrics, the song will change them. If you have the song, the lyrics will change it a little bit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. I mean, I guess it depends on, what you're doing.
Yeah.
I often will rewrite the lyrics to fit the song.
Yeah, definitely. Man, I've just done such skeletal lyrics usually, though, where I just like, you know, often I write from the perspective of a thing that doesn't exist from a book or something, just so I don't have to be too personal. And it's just like 2 stanzas. And then I just write like shitload of music around it. The only one that's like really personal actually is West Medicine. But that's the same thing, where I like just wrote like 2 stanzas and then a ton of music around it, you know?
Yeah, the funny thing about that is, like, I'm with you. I find it really hard to be. This is something that maybe I'll do one day. Not recently, but like the challenge of just being straightforward and plain and clear in your lyrics about something that's real and personal is actually that makes for great lyrics.
Yeah.
Like, if you think about like what are all the best songs, what are the most famous songs, it's like across the board, the most honest and like relatable stuff. Like if you get into like fanciful nonsense, those aren't highly relatable. It's something that's very simple and clear and usually very realistic, down to earth.
Yeah, totally.
Usually something dramatic. So like, and it obviously, like, you're putting yourself out there to write a song like that in a way that's hard or can be embarrassing. And I think
I think a level of vulnerability that like you can't overcome with like instrument mastery, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
It's insane.
Yeah. Well,
you can't shred your way out of it.
I think that's a real, especially for people like us that are probably more on the composerly side of things and less on the singer-songwriter side of things.
Big time.
That's a challenge. That I think for me personally, that's I often try to do it, like I'll come up with something and then I'll change the lyrics and like ultimately obscuring the whatever I'm trying to say, because like I mean, and I do that because I think it sounds cooler to me, but I think it's probably something that that makes the song less relatable.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think I've said this before. A lot of times I will include lyrics because it feels like the song needs them you know, or it's just like I sort of like when I'm playing whatever it is I'm playing, like I'll end up singing. It's like, yeah, this has a melody, but then there was a period of time where I was writing songs where I was like, this one's probably going to be a lyrics song, but then it didn't work out, and I would have to dissect those and make those instrumental, you know? So I'm not really sure how to approach that. And maybe I can use January as a way to explore that further, you know?
I did the whole, so the first challenge I did was I knew that I was going to like avoid all of these questions by just doing an instrumental album, you know? And like, cause I knew I was daunted by the task of having to write a song every day for a month. But I ended up writing these little frickin' like notes, where like, I don't know if you are how familiar you are with excursions, but each one of the songs has like this like bit of text that goes with it. Actually, in a lot of ways, these two albums that I've made for Sad Fam are very similar. Like they're it's like although the excursions ones are truly like really strange like one-offs.
Yeah.
And the
Excursions
odd is like
was your first one?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
But it's just like it's like all instrumentals, the whole album. Except for the ear. I forgot about the Yeah. Well, each one of this is like I was like really like trying like to find like new each day I was like find a new sound territory that like can be like a journey, cuz like it's all about it's kind of like I mean it's in the title. It's they're like these excursions. So it's like they read like journal entries, kind of the texts of like an explorer or something.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Like that idea. Dude, some of these are long, man. 10 minutes and 34 seconds. Wow.
Oh, the songs, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Which one is that?
The Lonely Elbow.
Oh, that was a that one is like I'm using the maybe command in Renoise, so it's like a probability thing.
Cool.
It's easy for those to get out of hand real long.
Yeah. Man, it's almost spooky. I have like this entire floor of like this downtown SF office space that's really like nice and all these different rooms and stuff to myself right now. Nice. It's crazy.
Should record an album real quick.
Go. So I'm thinking more about it. I think for January, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let my studio mates know that I'm going to keep my drum set up with mics for the month in my little corner. And then I'm going to select 2 keyboards and the vibraphone. And that's going to be my little zone, you know? I think I might omit the piano because it's unpredictable with tuning and EQ. Do you find that recording piano is like particularly difficult to deal with for mixing in EQ to get it to sound good at all?
Mine sounds great. Mine's really easy.
Really?
You just drop it right in. The only reason I don't record it that often is because I have to move a bunch of stuff into the other room. But
well, dude, I hear you, man. That's why shit fell apart for me so quickly on the last time, because I was trying to do like I was finishing some of those songs in my bedroom, you know, like with a Zoom and like just bringing keyboards and pedals here and there, bringing microphones here and there, you know. I think in order to set myself up for success, if I can have a dedicated workstation, it's going to be way, way better, you know.
I think that's because like I want to do January too, if Sarah will let me.
Right. I mean, that's real, right? Like it's a huge commitment.
Yes. But yeah, I think like my challenge will be I'm gonna do probably I think metal, because I think like that cuts out like trying to get good vocal takes that of singing vocals
Oh yeah, totally.
always takes the most time. So like that, you're like taking that out, although like coming up with riffs takes a long time, so might be a
For
trade-off.
metal?
I think so.
Well, dude, start making them now.
Sorry. Just like do it before the month, and then just
dude, make the album now.
Well, and also like not trying to do like being okay with a 1 minute long track.
Yeah,
you know,
totally.
That I think
that's gonna be my move.
That'll be my. I think that's what I'm gonna do. Metal.
Man, my favorite track that I sang for my because I really liked two of my instrumentals a lot for my Sad Fam, but there's one that I sang that was based off the 3-Body Problem. Oh yeah, it's just like my voice and piano, and I loved that song. And it's like, damn, I want to like actually do a good recording of that, you know. And it'd be better to just like do a good recording of it, like you did with The Odd, you know.
Yeah, man, it is funny though. It's like even like another thing, and I've said this like God so many times, but it's like always the things that you don't end up putting a lot of effort into always end up being the coolest things. And then like these things that you put like so much effort into, like they're cool, but like they're not as magical sometimes.
Yeah, I mean that's interesting with you because I know that Chrome Rose you spent a lot of time on, and I think that's the pinnacle of that particular record. From what is that, like I Do Not Wake Up or something like that?
Yeah.
And then you talked about how like that one song that everyone loves from Memento Mori, the frogs die peacefully in their sleep song.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like you said, you just kind of like threw that together, and everyone's like, yeah. That song.
That was a one day thing. The other one.
How long did it take you to make? This is a long time ago, but that song "Not for Kids." This was a long time ago.
Like, yeah, I mean that. It's really just 2 riffs.
Yeah.
It's not that.
But you still played everything.
Yeah,
no, I mean, but like writing, did you like write it and play it all in a day, or? I've always wondered. No, about that song.
I mean, I think I came up with the riff like I had been playing around with the riff for a while, and then I just sat down. I don't remember if I did, because back then I was like, I had like really really bum equipment, and I was borrowing a lot of stuff from like Geneva, just to record, just to be able to record drums at all. And so I was like, whenever I would do a recording like that, I would be borrowing like gear from other musicians. Like,
well, I mean, they were housemates, to be fair. Yeah. It makes it a little easier.
Yeah. I mean, it was something, it had to have been like more like very intentional, being like, okay, I'm going to record this now. I need to get like, first of all, I need to make sure that everyone in the house is cool with me playing drums loud in that place, you know? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a different process. Those days, man, back in the day of not having like a interface where you can record all the inputs that you would use for a drum set. I'm glad that those days are in my rearview mirror.
Dude, I hear that, man. Like getting the Motu as kind of flip things, and then having a couple of good mics, you know, 1 or 2 good mics.
Yeah.
It sort of changes everything, man. Like the things that I've been able to do from that studio, especially with the vibraphone, where I send it off to people and then they have it mixed and mastered. It's just like, yeah, dude, like.
Wait, what have you done like that?
Well, I mean, Nathan Clevenger, one of the records that I think we'll be talking about, has me playing that big vibraphone solo that he wrote for me. Oh. That big composition, and I recorded that all in my space.
And that's on what album?
What is it called? It's not Stateless. Hang on a second. Sorry, Nathan.
I Had a Dream About Amnesia.
Yes.
Which song is it? Which track is it? Are you talking about? Wait, you're not listed on this. Oh no, you are. Visibility.
Yes,
track
Visibility.
3.
Yeah.
Got it.
So that was the last thing that I performed live before I broke my wrist. I worked that up and did a live performance of this because obviously for the recording, I like did some cuts and edits and here and there, but really working it up. Patrick Roth was there, and obviously like Jordan and Corey and Lisa, a lot of really heavy ears were there, and
heavy ears,
and like, so it felt very similar to a college recital because like it was just me up there, and it was like a full 10-minute piece that was technically challenging and had some like a lot of room for improvisation in different sections. Really? Yeah, it's a cool piece. I'll show you the score before we do the interview.
Yeah, interesting. So, but Nathan is primarily a guitar player.
Yeah, yes, he is a guitar player. He also plays piano and like little percussion trinkets, like little toy piano and shakers and stuff on stage, and has a melodeon sometimes. Definitely a guitarist. One thing I want to talk to him about is if he considers himself a composer or a guitarist first, Yeah. Because he writes so much music. It's insane. So I think that what I'm curious about is y'all discussing what it's like to be, more or less prolific, like writing a bunch of stuff, and the way that you both approach processes differently,
Huh. Yeah.
It'll be cool. It'll be fun.
Cool.
Yeah, man. So, yeah, dude, I think everyone should listen to The Odd, and I think everyone should listen to You Would Do Well. And I think, we're going to have Devin back on to talk about this Miracle Cat record because it's really good. I've been listening to that for the past couple of days, and we'll look forward to seeing him on there.
Yeah. There's like, what else? I feel like there's another thing to mention related to this podcast, but I don't. We should.
Michael Coleman just put out something that he was talking about the work that he did with Sneal when he was on here interviewing.
Oh yeah.
He just put that out last Friday.
Yeah, that's right. I haven't checked that out yet.
I haven't listened to either, so we should listen and do another duo and talk about it.
Yeah. Cool. Well, maybe we should wrap it up because I'm tired having seen Meshuggah last night.
Yeah, man.
In Hollywood.
Yeah, let's do it,
which is not where I live.
Wait, where did you see him?
Hollywood.
Oh, you drove down there?
Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. I saw him at the Warfield in SF. It was awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this was fun. Y'all know where. Oh man, I'm like not formal at all right now. I don't have any of the social cards.
Same old.
Yeah,
the deal.
If you don't
know, you know what to do as a fan.
All right, y'all. Well, thanks for listening. Thanks for talking, Bob. We'll get together and do this again soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye.